Very special thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, before we talk about Dragon Ball GT's various transformations in the transformation guide, I thought it'd be fun to go back and look at some of the characters in Dragon Ball and in Z that have transformations and kind of examine the forms and tell you everything that we know about these forms. And we're going to start with a guy who really, his transformations are very different from other characters. We're going to go into that very shortly here in this video, but we are starting with Frieza, the topic of this video. Every single Frieza transformation and form will be explained and dissected next. When it comes to most transformations in Shonen, a lot of it has to do with a character hitting his limits and using a transformation to unlock new and impressive abilities to make themselves stronger. But with Frieza, when it comes to his transformations, at least the ones that we see and talk about in the original Dragon Ball manga and in Z, it's actually quite the opposite. Frieza himself reveals that his final form, the gray alien form with the purple kind of head and shoulders and whatnot, that is his final form, but also his base form. In other words, he was born in that form, and as time went by, Frieza reveals that he created his other three transformations to suppress his power, because he warns the Z fighters on several occasions that the higher he gets in transformations, the less control he has over his body. And it turns out that was actually complete BS, because when we see Frieza in his final form, he actually appears to have even more control over his body than he did when he was in his earlier forms, because he's able to actually control the percentage of power he uses, which requires a lot of skill, needless to say. But that being said, I'm not sure if Toriyama changed his mind and sort of dropped that whole concept, or if Frieza was just talking trash. Either way, that's how Frieza's forms work, in that his final form is his original form. But the first time we see Frieza is in his first form, and Daizenshu 4 calls this Frieza Daiichi Keitai, which is Frieza first form. We see him in his hover chair collecting Dragon Balls on planet Namek. This is the form that the majority of the Frieza Empire has seen. Very few people have ever seen Frieza in his above forms. This is where he prefers to be at his most comfortable. There's not much to say about it. He just goes around talking trash, and it appears like he's wearing a helmet, but it's just part of his head with the horns and whatnot. Toriyama claims to have thought up this design from demonic beings he thought haunted him as a kid. That's where he came up with this design for first form Frieza. And the first time we actually see it is, of course, the first time we actually see Frieza, which is Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 247, Dragon Ball Z Episode 45. And luckily with these early Frieza forms, we actually have actual stated power levels for these forms, because they came out such a long time ago. Now, there actually is an interesting story here. In the original movie pamphlet for Dragon Ball Z Movie 3, it actually states that Frieza's power level was 85,000 in his first form. This was, of course, released before Toriyama would actually list his true power, which was 530,000. That's what Frieza's power level is in his first form. So that movie pamphlet was once again the anime staff assuming Frieza's power, not communicating with Toriyama, because Toriyama would reveal that it was a heck of a lot higher. But remember, even in this first form, Frieza was able to easily destroy all of planet Vegeta, which is always a sight to behold. Then we have second form Frieza, who is very different from first form Frieza. The horns that he used to have now twist and go up a little bit. He's a lot taller. He's a lot more muscular. His strength and speed also increased tremendously when he's in this transformation. And he looks quite a bit like King Cold. And the whole speculation amongst fans is Frieza's second form, did he create that form as a tribute to his father's true form, which is what we see in Dragon Ball Z, or is his father in his second form? That's been a debate for decades, and we still don't have an answer on that. But one thing we do have an answer on is how strong this Frieza is. Now, Frieza straight up tells us that his fighting power, his battle power is 1 million, which was a huge deal at the time, because we never saw a character that had 1 million power level. He was the first one. And we first see this form in Dragon Ball Z episode 77, which correlates with manga chapter 296. Now, in the episode, there's a very intriguing line said by the narrator, where he states that second form Frieza wields enough terrifying power to destroy the entire universe. That is pretty damn crazy and easily hyperbole. I do not believe that Frieza was at universal tier power during this form. I don't think he was. I think it's just the narrator just being hyperbolous here. But hey, some people are going to say that he was based on that quote. And if you do, I mean, that's on you. I just don't think that was the case, even though back in those days, a power level of 1 million was a big deal. Then we get to the third form of Frieza, one of my favorites, and this is the form that Toriyama obviously based off of his favorite movie of all time, Ridley Scott's Alien. He has said in the past that it is his favorite movie of all time, and Frieza resembles the xenomorph in this film. Frieza actually states that nobody has ever seen this form outside of maybe his family, and it's a beautiful form. Not only does this form allow Frieza to get a lot stronger, but also a lot faster as well, as he was losing to the fusion of Piccolo and Nail for quite some time, and then once he got in this form, nothing could stop Frieza except for, you know, angry Gohan, which managed to knock enough sense into Frieza for him to say, hey, let me tap into my last form. We first see this form in manga chapter 302, which correlates to Dragon Ball Z episode 82. Unfortunately, we did not see this form again until actually Frost did it way later in Dragon Ball Super, but it is one that I really like. I enjoy that form quite a bit. Now, unfortunately, we actually do not have an official power level for third form Frieza. None of the guidebooks, none of the quotes in the manga or the anime state what his actual power level is for that form. Now, when it comes to Frieza's fourth form, it's a great example of Toriyama once again subverting expectations, because as you would watch the series, you'd see Frieza's forms get more scary, more bigger, stronger. He would end up being more intimidating as every transformation would be revealed. With the final form of Frieza, which is his birth form, Toriyama chose to make a more streamlined and simplified, I guess, design for Frieza. He looks like a gray alien with purple spots, and it's very simple and yet such a great design that I feel is one of Toriyama's best when it comes to creating a great villain. I love Final Form Frieza's design. It's just fantastic. And even though it may look less threatening than his previous forms, he wastes no time in showing how terrifying he is by killing Dende immediately, preventing the Z Fighters from utilizing his healing ability. We first see Final Form Frieza in Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 304, which correlates to Dragon Ball Z Episode 84. But this would not be the end of Frieza's power-ups, as we would soon find out that Frieza can actually enhance his power, and he's still suppressing his energy even in his final form. We find out that Frieza was fighting, just kind of toying with Goku for a while. Then he reveals that he indeed can go and increase his power to 50%. And even though we don't have the actual listed number of what Frieza's power level is in his final form when he first achieves the form, if we do some math here, we might be able to figure it out, because we do have confirmed from the Daizenshuu numbers for his subsequent enhancements in his power. What I mean by that is, it is listed in Daizenshuu 7 that Frieza's power level at 50% is 60 million. Now, this would put 50% Frieza roughly equal to Kaioken times 20 Goku. Even though it's up for debate, it's roughly the same way. And if that's the case, with Frieza being at 60 million at 50%, then if you take off the 50%, it would be what? 30 million? So Frieza's final form is around 30 million. At 50%, it's 60 million. And then finally, when he decides to get serious, we have 100% Frieza at 120 million is his power level when he faces off against Super Saiyan Goku. And this form, even though it's still part of the final form Frieza, I like to count it as a separate thing because it's him at his max power. He's insanely buff, but what we find out is that Frieza cannot maintain his stamina in this form for a long time. He has trouble keeping up with his power, and because of that, Goku sees an advantage, hits some very powerful blows to Frieza's body, causing him to fall apart and make mistakes, and eventually lose the fight. Now, in case you were wondering, as a side note, Super Saiyan Goku's power during this time is listed as being 150 million, but I just wanted to throw that in there as a bonus factoid here in this video. So Frieza ends up getting Well, we thought he died, but in fact he was just crippled, and King Cold finds him in the vacuum of space and rebuilds him as Mecha Frieza. And Mecha Frieza would first premiere in Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 329 and Dragon Ball Z Episode 118 as he began a trek to Earth for revenge on Goku. Now, because future Trunks made quick work of this version of Frieza, it's really hard to gauge how strong Frieza was in this power. We do know that his strength and speed did improve because it's stated in the anime that that's what happened, but we don't know by how much. I know some fans have thought that because they had to rebuild the lower half of his body and half his face and parts of his chest and whatnot, that he was in fact weaker, and the fact that he's not in his 100% form, he's back to his regular final form, would make you think otherwise. However, the cybernetic enhancements may have made him stronger, but it's never been stated how much. So after Trunks killed Frieza was the last time we would actually see Frieza at all written by Toriyama. Everything after this was either an anime-only filler, a movie, or Dragon Ball GT. Toriyama would then come back to writing new stories for Frieza with 2015's Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, where Frieza was resurrected, like the title says, and revealed he had a new evolution. In the first trailer, you can hear Frieza ending it by saying, "Allow me to show you my further evolution," not transformation. And that's where this one's kind of a gray area, because obviously Golden Frieza is a transformation, but it's more so an evolution of his final form. He does not look identical. Some have said it's a color swap. There is some differences, height differences, some color differences, of course, but it's not just a color swap. There are different positionings for, like, for example, the purple orbs are in different spots in this version of Frieza. He doesn't look exactly like the original Frieza, but his power is definitely something, as we find out that Frieza was able to tap into this ability after training for just a few months. This dude reveals that he never trained in his entire life, which, I mean, I call shenanigans on that one, but he says he never trained, and as a result of that, he was able to tap into Golden Frieza. And of course, later on in Dragon Ball Heroes, Golden Cooler also became a thing, but we're not talking about Heroes here. We're talking about the main Dragon Ball story, and Golden Frieza proved to be, in fact, superior to Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta, because he was stronger than them until, once again, he fell for the same trap. We find out that Frieza, when he discovered Golden Frieza, rushed to go fight Goku again without getting his body accustomed to the new power, and as a result of that, it greatly inhibited his stamina, and thus Frieza was unable to maintain the power for very much longer, which allowed Goku and Vegeta to really wipe him out, and they did. Now, when it comes to the form itself, Toriyama revealed some really interesting things in the build-up to this form, and he wasn't the only one. There was actually a joke that went around by Frieza voice actor Ryusei Nakao, who said that Frieza's golden power was 100 quintillion. Now, understand that's just Ryusei Nakao being funny. That is not an official power level at all. I know some people thought it was, but no, it's not official whatsoever. Toriyama also revealed that the reason why he chose to make Frieza gold was because he felt like he didn't want to simplify Frieza's design anything more than it was, so he felt like a gold color represented gold metals and represented power, which of course I had always seen as Frieza using gold because he felt like mocking, like Frieza chose his own color. That's the way I see it, and that's the way it's kind of implied. So I always thought that it was Frieza kind of mocking Goku and Vegeta, saying, "Oh, you want to use gold hair? I'll make my whole body gold," not realizing that by then Goku and Vegeta had moved past the gold hair and were now having blue hair. And to me, that's always been a great piece of writing, whether it be purposeful or accidental, by Toriyama. After his defeat and return to Hell after the events of Resurrection F, Frieza was smart enough to learn from his mistakes, and we thought we had seen the end of Frieza, but no, he returned in the Universal Survival Arc Tournament of Power when Goku needed to have a replacement for Majin Buu for Team Universe 7 and went to Hell to recruit Frieza. And here we find out that Frieza, although he could not really move his body, he was able to put himself through rigorous mental image training in Hell to gain perfect mastery of his body in Golden Frieza form. So no more stamina problems and an increase in strength and speed, and he would call this true Golden Frieza. And he is so powerful that he was actually able to control Hakai energy for a brief time. He's very, very strong as True Golden Frieza. Don't forget, he also double KO'd Super Saiyan Blue Goku post Trunks arc Super Saiyan Blue Goku. So if you're power scaling here, you can't deny that True Golden Frieza is way stronger than the one we saw in Resurrection F, but we don't know by how much. Either way, though, we see Frieza show how strong he is in this arc, and with his resurrection at the end of the Tournament of Power, who knows what the future holds. Dragon Ball Super Broly teased through Vegeta that Frieza may end up with another new transformation, and he might be trying to come back and get revenge. That remains to be seen, but as of this video, these are all of Frieza's forms in the series. Thank you for watching, hope you have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one. Once again, I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Building a website can be annoying and challenging, but Squarespace makes it easy for any online entrepreneur or even a hobbyist to create a fully integrated website, including things like linking social media accounts, mailing lists, email campaigns. It even has an audio block feature where you can embed audio from iTunes into your blog, so it supports podcasts as well for all you podcasters out there. Plus, there are tons of pre-built templates and customization options for anyone. And the best part is they have 24/7 support in case you get lost. Try it for free and 10% off your first purchase at squarespace.com/geekdom101.